The International Arrivals Terminal at John F. Kennedy International Airport hummed with energy on a cool October evening. Maria Rossi, a 58-year-old widow from Brooklyn, stood near the gate with a bouquet of roses in her hands. Her daughter Sophia, son-in-law Tony, and their two young children waited beside her, all eager to welcome Luca home after 2 years working abroad in London. Luca, Maria's only son, had built a successful career as a financial analyst. The biggest news, however, was his recent marriage to Elena Petrova, a woman the family had only met through video calls. Elena seemed charming, intelligent, and full of life. Maria couldn't wait to embrace her new daughter-in-law in person. The flight from Heathrow landed on time. Soon, passengers streamed through the doors. Maria spotted Luca immediately, tall, dark-haired, and smiling broadly. Beside him walked Elena, elegant in a trench coat, pulling a suitcase. Hugs and happy tears followed. The grandchildren shyly greeted their new aunt, and everyone talked at once. Elena smiled politely. "I just need to freshen up after the long flight," she said. "I'll be right back." She headed toward the nearby restroom. Minutes passed. 10, then 15. Luca checked his phone. No reply to his texts. Sophia went to look in the ladies' room but returned shaking her head. No one there who looks like her. Unease settled over the group. Luca called Elena's phone. It went straight to voicemail. Before they could decide what to do next, 2 federal agents in suits approached. They showed their badges calmly. "Luca Rossi?" one asked. "Yes, that's me." "You need to come with us, sir. We have questions regarding financial transactions linked to your accounts." Maria's heart sank. "There must be some mistake. My son is a good man." The agents explained that Luca was being detained for questioning in connection with possible financial irregularities. They assured the family it was standard procedure and that Luca would have access to a lawyer. As Luca was escorted away for processing, one agent turned to Maria. "Mrs. Rossi, if you hear from your daughter-in-law, please contact us immediately. We'd like to speak with her as well." The family stood in shock as travelers moved around them. Elena had simply disappeared into the crowd, and now Luca was in federal custody. That night in Brooklyn, Maria couldn't sleep. She sat at her kitchen table with a cup of tea, replaying the day's events. Something felt terribly wrong, but she refused to believe her son had done anything dishonest. The next morning, Maria visited Luca at the federal facility where he was being questioned for processing. Through the glass partition, he looked exhausted, but relieved to see her. "Ma, I swear I don't know what's going on. They're asking about large transfers I never authorized." "I believe you, Luca. We'll sort this out." Luca explained how Elena had helped manage some joint finances after their marriage. She said it would make things easier for taxes and planning. "I trusted her completely." Maria's mind raced. Trust. That word echoed. Back home, she called an old family friend, Marco Vitali, a retired NYPD detective. Over coffee, she shared everything. Marco listened carefully. "It sounds like there might be identity misuse or unauthorized access. These things happen more than people realize. I'll reach out to some contacts and see what I can learn. Legally, of course." In the days that followed, Maria and Sophia reviewed Luca's bank statements and emails together. They noticed unusual patterns, transfers to unfamiliar accounts that began shortly after Luca had shared access with Elena. Maria contacted Luca's lawyer, Carla Esposito, who immediately filed motions to challenge the detention. "The evidence appears circumstantial. We need to show these transactions weren't initiated by Luca." Maria decided to help in any lawful way she could. She began reaching out to financial institutions and gathering records that proved Luca's clean history. One evening, Marco called with information from a federal contact. Elena's background check raised flags. She may have used different names in the past and been linked to questionable financial schemes. Maria felt a chill. What kind of schemes? Investment scams that target vulnerable people, especially seniors, promises of high returns that never materialize. Maria thought of the elderly neighbors she knew, people who had lost savings to online fraud. Her determination grew. She would help prove her son's innocence through facts and legal channels. Maria turned her Brooklyn kitchen into an organized workspace. Printouts of bank records, timelines, and notes covered the table. Sophia helped scan documents to share securely with the lawyer. Marco brought official updates. The authorities are investigating a pattern of unauthorized transfers linked to investment fraud. Many victims are retirees who responded to online advertisements.
Maria nodded. We need to show Luca had no knowledge of this. Together, they compiled a detailed affidavit of Luca's daily routines, work logs, and communications, anything that proved he wasn't involved. Carla used this evidence to secure Luca's release on bail. The judge agreed the case relied heavily on account access rather than direct action by Luca. When Luca returned home, the family embraced tearfully. "I knew you'd fight for me, Ma." "Now we fight to clear your name completely," Maria replied. Maria began contacting victim advocacy groups and financial protection agencies. She learned how common these scams were: fake websites, persuasive emails, and charming representatives who gained trust. One advocate connected Maria with Gladys, a widow from Queens who had lost savings to a similar scheme. Gladys described receiving professional-looking investment offers online, then wiring money that vanished. When Maria showed Gladys a photo of Elena, the woman's eyes widened. "That's the woman who called herself my financial advisor." Gladys provided copies of emails and transaction records, many routed through accounts tied to Luca's name without his knowledge. Maria passed everything to Carla and the authorities. Each lawful piece of evidence strengthened Luca's defense. Marco helped coordinate with federal investigators. They're building a broader case. Your cooperation is helping many victims. Maria also started a small community awareness group in her neighborhood, sharing tips on how to spot online scams and protect personal information. Attendance grew quickly. As weeks passed, more victims came forward. Patterns emerged: similar scripts, fake company names, and money trails leading overseas. Luca, under legal guidance, fully cooperated with investigators, providing complete access to his devices and records. This transparency contrasted sharply with the lack of cooperation from Elena, whose whereabouts remained unknown. One day, Agent Ramirez from the FBI visited Maria. "Your documentation has been invaluable, Mrs. Rossi. We're closing in on the source." Maria asked, "Will this help my son?" "It already is. The focus has shifted." The chapter closed with the family feeling hopeful. Legal processes were slow, but truth was emerging through persistence and proper channels. Federal investigators intensified their efforts. Agent Ramirez kept Maria updated within legal limits. "We've identified multiple aliases used by the main suspect. The operation was sophisticated, but built on deception." Maria continued supporting victims. She organized meetings where people shared experiences and learned about recovery options. Hearing their stories strengthened her resolve. Luca attended therapy to process the betrayal of trust. "I feel so foolish, Ma." "You trusted someone you loved. That's human," Maria reassured him. "The fault lies with deception, not trust." Carla filed motions showing how Luca's credentials were misused without his awareness. Digital forensics supported this: logins from unknown devices and locations. One breakthrough came when authorities traced funds through international banking channels. Cooperation with overseas agencies revealed a network of fake investment sites. Maria testified voluntarily before a grand jury, presenting her timeline and family records. Her calm, factual account impressed prosecutors. Gladys and other victims also shared their stories legally, helping establish the broader pattern. Slowly, charges against Luca were dropped entirely. Official statements cleared his record, acknowledging he was a victim of identity misuse. The focus turned fully to locating Elena and dismantling the operation. International alerts were issued through proper law enforcement channels. Maria received a letter from the U.S. Attorney's Office thanking her for civic cooperation. "Your actions helped protect many vulnerable citizens." The family celebrated quietly, dinner at their favorite Brooklyn restaurant, toasts to resilience and justice. Luca began volunteering with Maria's awareness group, sharing his story, with privacy protections, to warn others. The chapter emphasized healing, community support, and faith in legal systems. Months later, Elena was located through international law enforcement cooperation and brought to face federal charges. The trial in Brooklyn Federal Court drew attention for its illustration of modern financial deception. Prosecutors presented evidence gathered lawfully: digital trails, victim statements, and financial records. Victims like Gladys testified about persuasive communications and resulting losses. Maria attended each day, supporting the process. She was called as a witness to describe how the deception affected her family. Defense arguments focused on lack of direct evidence tying Elena to certain actions, but forensic analysis and cooperating witnesses proved overwhelming. After deliberation, the jury returned guilty verdicts on multiple counts of fraud and identity misuse. At sentencing, the judge imposed a substantial prison term and ordered restitution to victims. Maria felt relief. Not vengeance, but justice served through the legal system. Luca's record remained fully cleared. He received official apologies from authorities. The chapter highlighted the importance of due process, evidence, and courtroom truth-seeking. With the trial concluded, the Rassi family focused on moving forward. Maria expanded her community awareness program into a nonprofit with grant support. Workshops, flyers, and partnerships with banks helped thousands learn scam prevention. Luca returned to his career with renewed caution, implementing strong security measures. He also began dating again, slowly, wisely. Sophia and Tony welcomed another child, bringing joy. Family gatherings were filled with laughter, homemade meals, and gratitude. Maria wrote a book about recognizing deception and protecting loved ones, donating proceeds to victim restitution funds. At JFK Airport 1 year later, the family welcomed a cousin from Italy. No disappearances, just warm embraces and happy beginnings. Maria reflected, "Trust is precious, but wisdom and community make us stronger." The story ended on hope, healing, and the power of doing the right thing legally and ethically.